Thank you for auditing the Always Positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who every week tries to highlight artists who aren't on a major label, artists I've never heard before, artists that we could call underground. It's my feature called Thunderground Thursday, and well, it's Friday, so it'll be Thunderground the Friday today. And this is a real doozy. I've been having a great week on my channel. My last couple videos have been doing just very, very well. And it's part of the soul of this channel to not just cover things that will be successful, not just cover things that people want to see, but also hopefully expand people's musical vocabulary, especially when it comes to music not made in English. I go on and on in this channel. I am a professor of French. I'm not from France. I'm from Boston, but still. About the importance of linguistic diversity, about the importance of not having a colonial attitude towards other languages, towards world languages, towards understanding that other cultures are capable of creating great works of art, and that if we shut ourselves off to things that are only in English, we are behaving in a way that is colonial, that is imperial. So I think it is our job as patrons of the art, I'm not going to say as consumers. As consumers, we get what we want. We want it in English, we get it in English. But as lovers of art, every once in a while, I like to bring you something that isn't in English, something a little bit more challenging for you, as is the case with this album, which is both very underground in its aesthetic, very lo-fi, very one person made it probably in their bedroom, and also very, very French. The name of the band is Théorème, which is like theorem, T-H-E accent aigu, O-R, accent grave, M-E, two accents, both of them, and the name of the album is Les Artisans, the Artisans. And it's an interesting project. It is apparently a solo project of a band that is called AIDS in French, and I don't even know this other band. I couldn't find anything about them. The person who's making all this music, who's the singer, is named Maisa D. I don't even know her last name. I couldn't find a picture of her. I don't know what she looks like. I just know that's her name, and she's from Lyon. If you're like me, you're kind of charmed by this level of mysteriousness, this level of what part of the internet do I have to go to find out this information? I don't really know. And I didn't spend too much time because what I like to do is really just experience the music and see how it makes me feel. This music immediately grabbed me with its rawness, with its atmosphere, with its coolness, with its French insouciance, you know, that feeling of, which is not particular to the French, but it is often an attribute of certain French artists, of sort of being cool without caring, being cool without trying, being cool without thinking that there's such a thing as cool. I'm tempted to call this just sort of raw post-punk, but while I was looking up, I happened to see someone apply to this band the tag of no wave. Listen, my ignorance is profound. By that I mean there's a lot of things I don't know, and also I can be pretty ignorant sometimes. And in that ignorance, I can learn a lot. So when I saw the term no wave, I had heard the term, but I never looked it up. I never thought to study what it is. And what I've discovered is it's probably something I like a lot. According to the Wikipedia definition, yes, even professors will cite Wikipedia when they're being lazy. No-wave musicians experiment with noise, dissonance, atonality, while reflecting an abrasive, confrontational, and nihilistic worldview. I think all of that fits very well within this music. If you like noisy, dissonant, sometimes atonal, very cool, distant, lo-fi, nihilistic music, that's what we have. Which is not to say that you can't dance to this album. There's a couple times you really can. It has a very nice feel to it. And one thing that's interesting is when we think about who makes music like this, at least for me, I always picture people who just look like me, just pasty white guys alone in their apartment. I don't know anything about Maisa D. I'm assuming from her surname that she is of North African descent, and the fact that she's a woman making this music is also fairly peculiar as well, that we have really a different kind of representation of this kind of insular, inward-thinking, very kind of dark, nihilistic, poetic imagery. It's interesting having it come from a different place than what you'd be used to. Her voice is often nice, but it's not trying particularly hard to be nice. It reminds me of a different musician. It reminds me of Debbie Harry at times, with just its sort of offhanded coolness, and sometimes like she's not even trying to sing on beat or trying to sing in key, that she's just sort of talking and singing at the same time. What about the lyrics, Sky? Oh, professor of French. I can't make them out. I mean, I can make out words here or there, and it's not that I'm not French. I mean, they would help. But what's interesting about the lyrics, and the lyrics that I'm able to understand, are excellent. I've sent an email to the record company, and they gave me the lyrics to 2 of the songs, which are even better. They're the kind of lyrics where, when I got the lyrics, I said, that's what I thought she was singing, but I didn't know what it meant. It's a very poetical register, not like poetic, like excessive. There's like themes to each song, and they all live within a certain world. But with the production, with the unexpected vocabulary that she's using, with the way that the voice is in the background, and with the speed and sound of the way she speaks, I didn't pick up much of it. I was feeling bad, and then I started re-listening to A Moon-Shaped Pool by Radiohead, and I realized I don't know any of the lyrics to that album either. I mean, I guess on a couple of the songs, but there's a couple of songs where, you know, Radiohead's one of my favorite bands. I don't know more than half their lyrics. I just learned how to play the song Airbag on guitar and start playing it, and I realized I had no idea what the lyrics were to that song at all. And to set a dust, I'm off for some ballooness. So, in very much the same way, that's what we have here, but just in French. Which hopefully will free you. Will free you from having to worry about the stress of not understanding these words. They are meant to be understood, but on an emotional level, I would say more than on an actual word-by-word level. If you're going to forgive me, I'm going to make a fairly extended metaphor to what author this music makes me think of. This might be offensive to her, I don't know. Marguerite Duras is one of the best authors of the 20th century. She is famous for being adjacent to the new novel, which in French was this concept. It was developed in France, this concept where novelists could write stories and the protagonists could not have names or real clear motivations, where the events were fairly unclear, where things were told in elliptical sense. This is my favorite book by her, La Menthe Anglaise. I spilled orange. I used to eat at Panda Express when I was getting my doctorate, and so I spilled some sugar chicken sauce on there. But La Menthe Anglaise is absolutely my favorite book of hers. She's most famous for The Lover and for writing the screenplay to Hiroshima Mon Amour. But this is great because this is a book where the entire time I was reading it, like I sort of got it, I kind of understood it. I had my dictionary out, I had everything going, but it was all the meaning, like the meaning was always escaping me. It always felt like I was sort of there. I was almost there. I kind of got what she was writing about, but not quite. In that sense of loss, in that sense of confusion, a lot of great art can be made and a lot of greater understandings about what she's writing. It's less based on literal interpretation and more based on a sort of emotional reaction or sort of spiritual, intellectual struggle to follow along. So let's give you an example. Let's take the first song. This will be my stamp, my homework for the album. Look up there and click on that if you want to hear what this music is like. You know, boom, 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 bop, boom. Nice kind of rhythm there. Lo-fi drum machine, kind of a creeping drum beat that's joined with these offbeat synthesizer stabs. That she gets louder and louder and more bass as it goes on. She does a great job layering all over her music. I hope when you listen, you really get that sense of this kind of, where she almost seems uninterested in what she's singing about. Almost spoken word, almost electric poetry. So I'm not going to read you some of these lyrics. I'm going to be translating them in real time to give you a sense of this kind of post-punk cool. The best things are those which are made by the people themselves, and they are made well and by hand. The best things are those that are made by people by hands, and they make themselves. Very good. It's made by hand. And it's very good. There are drowned people somewhere in the north who go down to the sea on horseback to sell to people who don't care fishing nets that are made by hand and don't serve any function, but that are made well and by hand. There are hanged people. Hung people? What's the one that means large penis and what's the one that means killed? Hanged. There are hanged people that that can't take it anymore, that balance as though they are fainting along the will of the wind, and who go down to the hills while running to sell to people who don't care these beautiful chords that are made by hand. There are those who have been thrown out of the windows, who no longer spend their time throwing themselves into the nothingness for no reasons, and who wait underneath the window at the edge of their hands, those which are made by a hand and are made with their care. These things are not made by these lazy people who kill themselves amongst each other. They are made well, made by hand, well by hand. These things are made artisanally by people who kill themselves themselves. They are done by the hand and very well. Et très bien, très bien. It almost reminds me of, in a way, the way she repeats très bien, almost reminds me of Ça plane pour moi, the most famous French post-punk song of the 80s by Plastic Bertrand. There's kind of like a dark sense of humor to this, a commentary on people's obsession with authenticity, this idea of people who drown themselves and then pass off the fishing nets to people, and they're very well made and they're made by hand. Very nihilistic, very dark. The next song, Les Gifles de Parietal, which means like the strikes or the hits from the parietal, which I guess might mean the parietal lobe. I don't know. It's sort of a faux jazzy lounge song. Very incidental Casio keyboards. All the sounds are very rough, very cheap, much like you heard, intentionally cheap. It seems to be about actually parietal as it refers to parietal art, which is the French word for cave paintings. It's all about going into this. It makes you realize there's something about this no-wave music, this kind of very rough, very raw, rough-hewn music, is that it does feel primal. It does. There is, even though it's being made by computers or being made by Casio, whatever, you do feel on a certain level like you are listening to something very rough, something very cave-like. Next song, Tourterelle, is the word for turtle dove. I have some mourning doves right outside. Just put food in the feeder. There's some mourning doves, and there's this crazy woodpecker. If you look at like 1 minute into the video, I'm like looking like this. It's because there's this beautiful pileated woodpecker. Which has nothing to do with this song, Tourterelle, which is an instrumental. There's a couple instrumentals on here. It's catchy, charming. It sounds like it's a soundtrack to something very cool. Almost accidental piano, offbeat Casio being played. Lots of interesting rhythmic stuff all the way throughout, where a lot of times it just feels haphazard. The next song, Radionuclides, adds some warmth to the album, some kind of automatic percussion, and the repetition of the words, rien de tel, nothing like that. Te coloniser là is this weird automated beat with a blaring piano, just this totally detuned and messed up piano, and these lyrics that appear to be about wanting to colonize somebody, which I don't know. It's hard for me as a French professor not to inject a post-colonial reading of this song. But truthfully, these lyrics, which I understood, when I see you there, pass me without a word, what I want to do most is colonize you there. Sorry, the woodpecker's back. Good Lord, that thing is gigantic. That is absolutely, I'm sorry, I can't show you. It's beautiful. I don't edit, so you're just gonna have to deal with me looking at woodpeckers. You're watching this to watch me talk about woodpeckers. So I'm not able to make a clear colonization narrative of this story. L'enfer définitif, definitive hell, has a great funky drum beat here, some accordion sounds, very loud woodblock. Some, real George Michael woodblock going on here. More woodblocks at the end that kind of get unsettling. I'll read you some more of the lyrics. This is the other set of lyrics that are sent. If these stairs go down, it's that they go down, and they don't do anything other than go down. Here, people don't remember anything else except going down. Here, the people don't remember anything else. What makes the shadows to go down, if these stairs go down, it's that they go down. It's that they do nothing other than go down. Here, the people don't remember anything else except going down. Here, the people go on hands and on feet to remember again that they held carefully, they still remember to walk carefully with these members. If these stairs go down, it's that they go down. They've never done anything else other than go down. Here, people pass their time making shadows to go down, even though the miasms remain marble. When the miasms remain marble, they remain marble. So it's this extended metaphor, I suppose, about death. Stairs that only go down. What a beautiful image. I mean, there's no such thing as any stair. You can go up and down. That's a lie. But it's an interesting poetic image, and this idea and this repetition actually reminds me of other 20th century French playwrights like Samuel Beckett. I know he's born in Ireland, but I still consider him French. So did the French. You know, this kind of idea, sort of repetition to the point of like, what's the point of words? How do they work? And what's the real meaning? Théâtre is another instrumental song, nice guitar and low Casio horns, great instrumental, funny and sweet. At times it reminds me of Bang a Gong by T-Rex. The album ends with L'homme à face de rosé, which means the man with the dewy face, basically. Very compressed automated synthesizers. It keeps building all these different layers. She has lots of great work with different, like, eventually the drums come in, these haphazard keyboards, the bass comes in, the whole thing about like the temple of the night and starving and forgetting things. I'm not really quite sure what she's singing about here either. But there you go. There's your introduction to Théorème, a group which I like quite a bit, or a person which I like quite a bit. Realistically, people aren't watching this video. And I understand. When I'm talking about Playboi Carti, I'm talking about ABBA, I'm getting a lot more views. I don't blame it. But if you made it this far, I want to thank you. You don't even have to subscribe or smash the like bucket. The fact that you watched this far just makes me happy because it means we're on the same page here. You're checking out Théorème, seeing if you like it, and we're spreading good art all over the place. Okay, in that case, till next time, where I'm probably going to review Juice WRLD or something else, there's the camera.